All right, y'all. What's going on? It's Combo Breaker 99 back with another one, y'all. All right, y'all. Let's talk about this one. Jaqueline Amorim taking on Mizuki. All right, y'all. Going into this one, I kind of wanted to pick Amorim just because, of the streaks she's been on and just, her overall style. She's a finisher. And, just seeing how she goes in there and likes to compete. She has that killer instinct. She doesn't really have like the best striking. I've talked about that in the past with Amarim, but I thought that, with the way the division was going right now and just, her skill sets, it would make for, like a good addition to strawweight. But Mizuki, man, Mizuki, look, she's a pleasure to watch. You got to enjoy it when you see her because you just don't know when she's going to show up again. And hey, she showed up in this fight. So, hey, I got to give her a lot of credit, man. Mizuki, I know she's been going through some things. I think, the 2-year stint that she was off, I think it was due to like an injury. So, I can't really take away much from her there. But for some reason, going into this fight, man, I was like, Mizuki, she's a tough customer. I remember that Amanda Lemos fight. And I remember how she was able to just kind of neutralize the power with her clinch game and just her overall movement. So going into this fight, I had to lean towards Mizuki. I don't know what it was. I wish I would have betted on it because she was like the plus 140 underdog going in. But I just like overall what she was doing in this fight, man. She really looked like the complete fighter. She didn't look like she missed a step either, being out for 2 years. I mean, she came in, just mixing it up in this fight. I mean, right from the jump in the first round, I liked the pressure from Mizuki. She was backing Amorim up. And, Jacqueline, I don't think she was really prepared for that. It was kind of a good plan on Mizuki's part to back her up, just to kind of intimidate her, like she wasn't worried about the takedowns, and that way Mizuki was also staying busier. She was landing more strikes, more jabs and right hands, just backing Amorim up. But Amorim finally, picked up on it and went for a takedown. But when it went to the ground, I was expecting maybe a quick finish because we know how Amorim is. But Mizuki, man, her grappling, man, her defensive grappling is on point. It was really on point. She defended all the submission attempts and just was able to really control and get to a good position to make Amorim think. Even whenever she tried to go for like that crank or like rear naked choke, I like how Mizuki just stayed calm and she was able to get out of the position and then scramble the top position. And when she got that top position, she started letting loose on Amorim. She started letting loose that ground and pound. And there was a couple of right hands that she landed like right before the bell that looked like they rocked Amory. Like you could see, like she was kind of stunned by these shots, that were on the ground. Like Mizuki's ground and pound was on point. So going in, oh yeah, after she got up, man, she was like kind of stumbling back to her corner. She kind of stumbled back to her corner. So going into the second round, Amorim, she still looked drunk. She looked kind of drunk off these shots. So Mizuki, she saw that, put more pressure on, went back into the clinch, and just had the better effective work in the clinch again. I like her. I like her overall clinch work. She was landing uppercuts, some stiff shoulders, just kind of bullying Amorim back. And then once again, Amorim tries to get the fight to the ground. Mizuki, her defensive grappling was on point again. Overall, she was being more offensive after a while. She wasn't like overconfident. She was just trying to adjust and use her ground game to kind of neutralize Amorim. And it was working. It was working because once again, Mizuki finishes on top, and takes another round. She finishes in the top position and takes another round. But going into the last round, man, Mizuki, she was just snapping that head back at this point. I mean, Amorim really did look like she was kind of out on her feet, and Mizuki saw it. So she was kind of, putting the punches together and started mixing it up. And when she went into that clinch, man, I like how she just started landing some good uppercuts again. And then there was a good uppercut, man, that it was like a sequence that she landed that dropped Amorim. I don't know if they saw it as a knockdown, but to me it looked like a knockdown because when she got hit with uppercut and then she got hit with the body shot, she just kind of like fell back. It was like she was trying to pretend like maybe she was going to lay back to kind of lure Mizuki back into the ground. But no, I think that was a good knockdown. I think that was a knockdown from Mizuki's part. And then Mizuki, once again, when she gets back up, she's backing Amorim up and then she's landing these hard shots. Again, she lands like another hard shot to the body. And it looks like Amorim was about to fold. It looked like she was about to fold again. But overall, man, Mizuki, she finished the third round as well, with just like some hard shots. I know there was like a lot of blood, but if you saw that, that was just from a headbutt. That was from a headbutt, like in the mid part of the third round, and it did like leave a big gash on Mizuki's right eye. But yeah, man, Mizuki was just in there. She was just in there putting in work on Amory, man. She was letting loose. the body shots. And that's the thing, that's the thing too, man. Like Amorim might have got exposed to the body. She might have got exposed to the body because you never really see her get hit with shots like that because she's used to her fights being only like one round. She's used to going straight to the ground with a lot of opponents. So, that's something they probably got to work on in conditioning because Mizuki, she was stabbing her, man. She was stabbing her to the body and to the head. And overall, man, I think those big ground and pound shots are what kind of did it for Amorim because she was literally out on her feet. I know Mizuki, she probably could have finished her, but this was her first fight back, so she probably just didn't want to take that chance. But yeah, I had a 30-27, 30-27 all the way for Mizuki. Yeah, man, if Mizuki can stay consistent and stay active, I think she could be a problem, man. I think she could be a problem for 115. And we need that, man. We need this like new crop of straw weights. We need this new crop of straw weights, man, because a lot of these other girls right now with the way, the division is looking, we've seen so many of these matches, like we need some new girls coming in, so hopefully Mizuki can put it together and maybe, get like a fight against maybe like Loma, her and Loma, that would be an entertaining fight. Her and Loma Lubumni, just to kind of get her back in the mix and then go for an unranked fighter. And if Carolina wants it, Carolina's still around, why not, right? No, that's wrong, man. Carolina Kovacevic would probably get stopped at this point. Let's be real. Yeah, I think, man, just give her like another fight. Demopoulos, I know that's the name of hey, Mizuki versus Sam Hughes. I like both fighters. That's a good one. That's a good test. Yeah, so we can see where it goes from how it goes from there. But Amorim, man, just a lot of work needs to be done. I was gonna kind of look at her as like this next coming, like, okay, she's evolving here. She's starting to put it together, but now she really got tested against a well-rounded fighter. So, yeah, we see that she needs work. She just can't be a specialist, man. She can't be a specialist because, she's going to have to mix it up because these girls right now, they're seeing what she's bringing. And as long as these girls are working like on their defense on the ground and their own jujitsu, submission is going to be harder to get. And that's why I've always been saying, like, just because you see somebody dominant in LFA or Bellator getting all these knockouts and submissions. I mean, look at Michelle Montague, right? She kind of struggled to get Luana Carolina, to get that victory. So, she just needs to work on her striking, I think, and just her overall like physical conditioning. That's what I think, guys. But let me know in the comment section if y'all saw the fight. Combo Breaker 99. I'm out. Subscribe. Peace.